Do, do, do. Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from San Diego in California. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1737. Survived. Yes, I survived today. My first full day with the kids by myself. Haven't done that since October. They're all a little older now. So, yes, new attitudes, new personalities, changing, everything else. But overall, it was a good day. It did have a couple of challenges in there. But I will tell you this, keeping an eye on 3 kids in a swimming pool is a heck of a lot easier than trying to keep track of 2 kids in a crowded playground. But it was very overcast here today. Let's see, the middle one got off to after his T-ball game, had a great time. And then this afternoon, the kids decided they wanted to go swimming. So they were all in the pool. I'm sitting supervising them, and they were in there just over an hour, and when they got out, they were, like, exhausted. Yay. Awesome energy out of them. But they were happy to play and everything else, and it was just really cool, and I was trying to think of places I could go see, but I kept looking at the clouds thinking, "Oh, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain." It never did. Um, but overall, we had a really good day. There was a couple of challenges throughout the day, but we got through those. I also started sorting through my boxes from the storage so I could try and consolidate, because I brought back one full carload yesterday plus a partial carload, and that didn't include any of the stuff that I have here that I brought out with me. So we're going to have to keep working on this. I've already got rid of, I've got one empty box, one empty crate. So we're doing good. We're doing good. And when the kids aren't here, because every time I pick up something, they go, "What's that, Grandma? What's that, Grandma? Grandma, what's that? Grandma, who's that?" Like they're looking at pictures. And I found my wedding albums today. And so I was able to show them pictures of their dad when he was like 14, their uncles, their grandpa, and things like, and photos of the great grandmother and other people in the family that they know. And they was like, "That's not daddy." Like, "He's too young." Which I thought was priceless. "That's not daddy." And why not? "Well, he looks too young." So you remember he was 14 at the time. He's a little older now. So yeah, that was kind of fun. "That's not Uncle Chris, and that's not Uncle Josh." "Well, it looks like Uncle Josh, but that's not Uncle. Well, Uncle Josh was a lot younger then too." So but I have to tell you, it was priceless looking at these pictures. I haven't seen my wedding albums in about 6 years, so it was good to sit there with the kids and go through and show them some of the pictures. And of course, when I showed them which one was me, they go, "You look so young, Grandma." They believed it was me. They didn't believe it was their dad, their uncles, or anybody like that, but they believed that I was there and looked a lot younger. So there you go. But yeah, we've had a overall, it was a really, really good day. Like I said, there's a couple of challenges, but all in all, it was a good day. Although I'm looking forward to this coming week when the kids are in school, because it means I can, in the mornings before I go to work in the afternoons, I can really dive into these boxes, plus the stuff that's in my car, and consolidate a lot. It's amazing how many cleaners that I had, and I was like, "They've been sitting for 5 years. I'm tossing them." So the trash goes out tomorrow, so there's going to be a lot of stuff going into the trash. I've just put them down, and I can hear them out of bed already. And so, yeah, one of them's into drawers or something, rolling something around on the floor. So, but yeah, so it's been good. And I found I thought I had the jug for my Vitamix blender that does the dry seeds and stuff. I found it in a box, along with my marble rolling pin. What else did I find in the box that was there that I've been looking for? There's a couple of things in that box. It was like kitchen stuff that I knew I had the stuff. I thought they were in boxes that I hadn't unpacked at the house. No, they were in boxes that were in storage. So, yeah, that'll be another box that we'll get rid of, because I'll be able to consolidate, because there's so few pieces in that box to be able to consolidate with another box. So, but yeah, threw out a bunch yesterday when I was taking them out of the car. I was like, "I'm just going to go to the trash can and just throw this in there." And then it was sort of like, "This is taking too long." So, yeah, over this week, we'll get a lot more stuff into the trash cans. I found one box. It's got this one. I'm just sort of like, "Oh my gosh." This one box had in it a couple of rolls of paper towels, 2 huge rolls, like they were about this round, of garbage bags, of white garbage bags, like 13-gallon garbage bags. Two fat rolls. They were like about this round each. Then there was another big roll of black 40-gallon garbage bags, which I usually use when I'm sending stuff to Goodwill. That's what I use the black garbage bags for, is the stuff going to Goodwill. What else was in that box? There was a whole bunch of cleaning stuff, and like there was like new cleaning rags in there. It's a heavy box, but it's because of the weight of the trash bags that was giving it all the weight in there. And I was like, jeepers. But yeah, so that box, and some of the stuff in there is not coming home because there's some stuff in there that I no longer use. So because it's brand new, unopened boxes and things like that, I'm going to see if they want them here. And if they do, they can have them. If not, they can toss them or donate them, whatever. So yeah, it was kind of interesting doing that. And the kids are so funny. What's this, Grandma? Grandma, what's that? Grandma, what's this? Grandma. It was a lot of fun. And seeing them outside playing in the pool was kind of cool. I totally forgot my swimsuit, but I believe I have a suitcase here that I have to go through. I've got one that I went through a while ago, which I'm going to go through again, but I have another one that I haven't been through. Probably, I think I packed it like 6 years ago. I think there may be a swimsuit in there. I'm not sure, but with the way these kids splash around, I'm just sort of like, I'm happy to sit on the pool furniture and just supervise. They have so much fun in the pool, keeping themselves entertained and entertaining each other and splashing each other and whacking each other with the pool noodles, and as much as they can with each other on that, and then trying to defeat records that they've set in the past. They are a hoot to watch in the pool. And like I said, it's so much easier to supervise 3 kids in a swimming pool than it is to supervise 2 kids in a crowded playground trying to keep tabs on them. When one goes in one direction, one goes in the other direction, and you're just sort of like, oh, which one do I go after? So, but overall today, we survived today. It was the first. Oh, and I found a whole bunch of genealogy stuff as well, and found the binder that's got the complete records of the house that we purchased in Virginia, like everything from when we decided which plan we were going to go with, all the way through notes from all the meetings that we had with the builders, everything. Like it's a 2-inch binder. It's full of stuff, including including a map of all the different lots, because there's 18 houses in our development, and who had purchased each one, what style of house they had purchased, what front they got on the house. Did they get a 4-bedroom version or a 5-bedroom version, or the 3-bedroom version versus the 4-bedroom version based on the model of the house, and those sorts of details. And then it had the house plans in there and a whole bunch of notes. Every time we did an inspection, the copies of the inspections went in there. Things we found at fault with the house we needed repaired before we moved in. Like the punch lists. There was a punch list there from before the drywalls went up. In fact, somebody had told us this this is back in 98. Somebody had told us this, that when you go and do your house inspection, they put the garage door in. Inside somewhere in the garage, that they're forever by the garage door, there will be a nail there that's got 2 keys on it, which are both for the garage door. Swipe one of them. They said you're buying the house anyway, so you might as well have one of your keys. That way, when they finally get to sealing the house and locking it, they only lock the garage. They lock the garage door, the front doors, and all of that, but they never lock the internal door from the garage into the laundry, or however you get into the house, in this case, the laundry. So you've always got a way to get into the house and go and see what's being done. We have notes from every walkthrough that we did through the house. They did this today. We saw this was done. We saw that was done. We had 5 weeks where they did nothing to the house. The reason they did nothing to the house is that we found out later on it had been like 5 or 7 years since they had built out of the style of house that we got. And since then, the requirements for HVAC systems had changed. Well, the floor plan, the specs didn't allow for the changes that needed to be done to allow for the new HVAC systems to be installed. So they froze everything for 5 weeks while they figured out how to fix it. Literally, that's what they did. And so that's why there was nothing built on our house for 5 weeks, because we were actually meant to be the first people to move in, and we were the third house to settle. But yeah, that's why nothing was done. And so, of course, we're like walking through and going, there's none. But here's what we did. That we found out when they were doing the drywall, because we walked through the day before the drywall got put up, as we walked through the house and did the pre-drywall inspection, which is seeing where all the wiring is, all the plumbing, all of that sort of stuff. We took lots of photographs, so we knew where all the wiring was, where all the plumbing was, and everything else. So we had the photographs of what's inside the walls. Then we came back that night, broke into the house. Now, this was like June or July. It was hot and humid in Virginia. Inside the house, it was even hotter because it had been closed up. And we're in there. We're running Cat5 wiring through the house. We pre-wired all the speakers. We knew where the speakers were going to go in the family room, and where the stereo system was going. We'd already worked out where the stereo system was going to go. We worked out where the speakers were going to go. We went through that house. We put the surround sound, installed the surround sound wiring into the family room. We put Cat5 wiring from all the bedrooms except the master bedroom, because I refused to have any computer stuff in there. So we had Ethernet connections in the 3 bedrooms that were upstairs except the master. And we ran it from the office as well. We had the central hub coming to the office, so we ran all the wiring down to the office, which was downstairs, where we were going to have the hub. We had the whole, and we had wiring in the family room as well. We had it. We didn't do the living room and dining room. Oh, and the kitchen, the desk in the kitchen. So we ran this wiring through. We ran all the Ethernet cables, which were Cat5 wiring. We ran all the speaker cables in the family room. We weren't finishing the basement for a while yet. And so when they came into, and the drywallers didn't know the stuff wasn't supposed to be there. So the drywallers came in, and what did they do? They put the holes in where we had put, because we put the boxes there, they put the holes where the boxes were. So all we had to do was just go, and then of course, when they finished all of that, they then went and put all the face plates on everything. And so they had the blank face plates on where all the wiring was put in, and all that sort of stuff. So we went in afterwards and replaced the blank face, and all we need to do was just take the blank face plates off and put on either an Ethernet connection or the hole coming through where it would hook up to the speaker and that sort of stuff. So that's what we did the night before the drywall. And we've got all of that documented. Everything's documented on that house. And then when we came to doing the closing inspection, everything else, copies of the inspection are in there, our own personal notes, as long as the notes that they had. And then we had made a spreadsheet that had on there all the faults that we found, the date they were reported, and when they got fixed. And I will tell you this, that punch list never got completed. Never got completed. But yeah, it was kind of interesting just having to flip through that. Even found a map of the plot with all the measurements on it for the land. Yeah, which was kind of interesting. This is how screwed up it was with the driveway. They put the driveway down to the house. It was an 80-foot long driveway. They put it down to the house, then it kind of curved into the garage. Then there was a turn area. But what they didn't do is they didn't follow the when they put the house in and then put the driveway in, they didn't follow the boundaries very well, because our neighbors, who are wonderful neighbors, they're still in that house, they're absolutely amazing neighbors, they were getting everything ready to put a fence down between the 2 backyards. And so when they got it, and then we're looking for the markers where they had the boundary areas and all of that. Well, one of our markers is sitting in our driveway. So we found the one at the front. We found the one that was meant to be at the corner, but it was about this far into the driveway. So if you'd have to come down the driveway, and then you'd have to cut out this corner of the driveway because that's where the property marker was. And so we went back to the company, the builders, and said, hey, you guys have to redo this because of how you've done this. Either you got to rip up the driveway. Both of us went and complained about it and said, you either have to rip up the driveway or you have to rezone, redo the, and they were like, no, not doing that. You guys will just have to sort it out yourselves. And so we decided to leave it as it was. So what we did in the end is that we kind of found the midpoint and kind of swiveled it a little bit. We didn't actually move the property markers, but we came to a gentleman's agreement with the neighbors that we would swivel. So they gained a little more in their front yard, and we didn't have to cut out the hole in our driveway, put a dent into our driveway around the property marker. So that's how we worked it. And when the person who bought our house was buying our house, we explained that situation to her and said, this is what we've got set up with the neighbors, and this is how we've worked it. And she was fine with that too. So hopefully that's still in place. I don't know if it is or not, but she's been in that house 14 years. We were in it for 13 years because that house is be 26 years this year since we moved into that, since we first built that house. So, and it's still standing. Gosh, that means that the original neighbors that are still in their houses have been in those houses 26 years this year. Wow. Because we all moved in around 98 at different areas, times through 98. So the original families that are still there will be celebrating 26 years in their houses this year. So yeah, it's been interesting to see what you can unload, what you can find, and a lot of good memories coming back with that house. We enjoyed that house. We enjoyed the neighborhood. We only had 18 houses in our homeowners association, which was really cool. And the way we ran our homeowners association, it had zero profit every single year, because what we did is the homeowners association paid for whatever they had to pay for, taxes. There might have been some repairs they had to do to common areas, which wasn't very many anyway. And then at the end of the year, they said, these were our costs this year. Divide that by 18. That's what your HOA fees were. And I think, if I remember correctly, the most we paid was like $28 one year. Usually it was around $17 a year per house. And one year I think it was 28 because it was we had to reseal this common pathway that went down between two houses to the trees at the back. We had to do some sealing on that or something, and that was the most expensive. So that was like $28 or $32, somewhere around there, high 20s, low 30s for our property, our HOA fees. And I know some of you people on HOAs are going to go, what? We pay $200 a month. We pay $500 a month, because different HOAs have different common areas. Our only common area in the entire 18, we were two cul-de-sacs. We had two cul-de-sacs between two houses. So there was the driveway for our house, then there was our neighbors, then there was this common pathway that went down into the tree save area at the back, and then there was the next neighbor. And so it was only like a couple of, house across from ours. And that was our only common area in the entire neighborhood. So that's all we had to take care of. So that, 18 houses, it was very easy. Everybody knew everybody else. And it was just really, and the committee had a really easy job. The busiest out of the entire committee was the architect committee, just making sure everybody stayed within the rules of the design rules and everything else. And if they wanted, like we had a problem with our front porch where the railing rotted because it was made of wood. So the railing rotted, and so we took it off there. And of course we got dinged because we had no railing. We had the front porch, but we had no railing. And we're sort of like, well, this is what we want to replace it with. And they said no, because it was a composite, and it meant that the wood wouldn't rot. And because of where this railing was, it got wet a lot when it rained. And in the wintertime, it got slammed. And so when we finally took them a piece of the composite, they said, oh, well, that's not so, yeah, you guys can put that up. And so we went and put it up and made the place look like $1 million. It definitely spruced up the front of the house having that composite up there, because it was white, and we had the pillars painted white already, so we didn't have to do any painting. And it just meant that, when we came to sell it, it still looked really, really good. We didn't have to worry about replacing rotten wood anymore, because it was just really bad. It was that one end of the porch just got slammed in the weather so much that it rotted the wood very, very quickly. Didn't matter how many coats of paint we'd put on to protect it and everything else. So when we explained the problem and showed them what the composite was, they finally relented and allowed us to put it up there, because it's basically a plastic composite thing. But when they thought it was going to look cheap, but when they actually saw it, when we showed them samples, they were like, oh, that's not so bad. So yeah, you guys can go ahead and do that. So may still be working today? I don't know. We haven't been back. We did a drive-by once. I had to go back to Virginia in September of the year we moved out here for a funeral. And so I did a drive-by through the neighborhood. Nothing had changed. But then we'd only been gone 3 months at that point. But haven't been back to Virginia. Oh, actually, we've been back to Virginia, but we haven't been for a drive through the neighborhood. Yeah, we've been back to Virginia since then, but not for a drive through the neighborhood, which I guess we could have done that. That wouldn't have been a problem. Seen some familiar faces, and because I know some of the neighbors that are still there. But yeah, and but it was a great neighborhood. Just the 18 houses in there. Everybody knew everybody else. Oh, and then the HOA once a year would put on a barbecue for the neighborhood for our 18 houses, and so we would gather in our cul-de-sac because we're two cul-de-sacs. So we'd gather in our cul-de-sac, and people would bring their grills over, and the HOA would provide the meat, like the hamburgers and the hot dogs, and the buns for those, and everybody else bought sides, and of course the HOA paid for that, and that got divided by the 18 houses at the end of the year, part of our $17 a year that we had. So yeah, so it was, but we always had fun out there in the cul-de-sac, and being on the double cul-de-sac too, we didn't get a lot of traffic down there as well, so we didn't have to worry about people racing around the streets or anything like that. So it was pretty good. It was a really good neighborhood. We enjoyed our time there, and the people that were in that neighborhood, and the neighbors were really good people as well. And we didn't really have anybody. We had one guy that was a little weird. He ended up passing away, and so his house got sold by his estate. And he was directly in front of our property because we had an 80-foot driveway, so we were down the back. And he called the utility people because he was putting a fence in between our property and his property. He wanted more privacy in his backyard because our front yard looked into his backyard. And so I thought, okay. And he never actually told us he was doing the fence, which was hilarious because he put it all on his side of the property line. So he was paying for it completely himself. It was all on his side of the property. He got Miss Utilities out there. They marked in where all of his gas came in, his power and everything else. But nobody bothered to check to see if anything came down the driveway. And I'm going to have to go really quickly. So when they first drilled one of the holes, it hit our gas line. And I wasn't at home at the time, and I came home. There's fire trucks everywhere. I'm like parked in front of the neighbor's house who we shared a property line with. And I'm like running up there going, what's going on? And one of the neighbors says, come down, the house is fine, the house is fine. I says, but what's going on? They said, oh, they hit the gas line and they need you to get in there. And fortunately, I had a key to the front door, so I had to go in. I had to go disable the alarm. I had to get the dog. We had the birds in there, got Bear, took him out of there, and everything was fine. So, yeah, they had to go and check the house for any gas leaks and all that, but nobody had checked the property line, the other side of this guy's house, to see if there were any utilities down there. They went through our cable wiring, and they went through our gas line because they didn't check that side. But anyway, I have to go. I've got some messages I have to go and reply to. So you guys go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at around this time tomorrow. Hey, konera.